This is Stay Paid, the marketing podcast that gives listeners a competitive edge to stay motivated, find inspiration, and discover proven real-world tactics from some of the best marketers across the nation.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Akery.
And I've completely messed up my intro there because I didn't write an intro. I almost started reading the last intro.
You guys are getting the raw Luke and Josh now because Josh is like, so, what do you want this episode to be about? And I'm like, well, this is what we're dealing with. So
11 p.m. last night. Hey, I think we're going to do this one. And what's the other one we're going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because what it is like it's Gary Vee's methodology. You document, you don't create, right? So as a content creator, you can get out there and create, which is a good thing to do, but eventually you run out of things, right? Because
I think like the most important part is it doesn't matter. There's no excuses. You have to stay consistent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we just have to
Bingo.
show up. We have to do it.
Yep. You have to persist.
But this topic came up because we do a maybe monthly.
Yeah, it's a new hire lunch, like
a virtual lunch
like
with all the new hires, everyone who's been new in the organization for like 90 days, something like that. Mm-hmm. And so you and I and our CEO, Steve, and our COO, Mike Graziola, we get to have a lunch with all of the new hires. Yep. And one of them asked a question. Actually, it was kind of two people asked sort of the same question. One had sort of asked on the call and the other one had chatted it in. And it was just sort of this idea of how to not let the bad days get to you, losing energy throughout the day. They mentioned starting strong, finishing weak, not sure how to revamp myself effectively halfway through the day or the end of the week, and how that's kind of affecting their calls. So you put together some bullet points here just and sort of like, hey, how do you kind of push through those days where maybe you're not feeling motivated or you're having a rough day, or maybe you find yourself in the same situation where you start off the week really, rare and ready to go, and then you start to sort of lose energy or lose motivation as the week goes on.
Yeah, well, I would tell people motivation is a feeling, discipline is where it's really at, right? Mm. So Zig Ziglar has a famous quote, motivation is like bathing. You got to do it every day, right?
Or else you'll stink.
Yeah, or else you'll stink. I was on a financial team meeting today. It's our financial sales team. And Mel, our team leader, and Pete, our manager of financial sales, they were giving great messages. But you could just tell the people were kind of like, yeah, it's just Thursday, and I'm showing up today and stuff like that. And I told them, I said, here's the thing, guys. You have a choice to make. Mm-hmm. I said, you can listen to these motivational messages and be like the 99% who just basically create a narrative in their mind going, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. You're trying to motivate me. That's your job. You have to do that as team leader at Reminder Media. Or yes, okay, this is corny, to be the lion, not the gazelle, blah, 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 blah. I said, you can be like the 99% and get what they make and get what they have. Or you can be like the 1%, and the 1%, they might feel those thoughts, but they don't accept that narrative. They create their own narrative. And that's the discipline, to create your own narrative, to be intentional about your thoughts, to go, no, I am going to accept this message. I am going to reflect here. I am going to think about myself. What do I need to do to apply to get better today? And it is in that simple, just like accepting, hey, I am not going to be mediocre.
Yeah.
I woke up today to be great. I'm not going to be like a leaf in the wind that's blown in every direction based upon where the wind goes. I'm going to chart my own course, create my own destiny. That is a difference maker. Yeah. And in order to do that, we can talk about some ideas.
Well, it kind of goes into the first step, which is you have to know what your goals are. You have to know what you're actually chasing or trying to achieve.
Yeah. So what I would tell people is, and this takes discipline, if I asked you right now, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Could you give a detailed, specific answer to that? Could you give a detailed answer to what you actually want to accomplish? And most people, I won't call anybody out, but most people don't have any specifics to what they want their life to look like. I think
people have an idea. They just don't want to say it because it might be too big for them to then have to think about, okay, now how do I get there? What do I have to do?
But I think people are generic. I want to be wealthy. I want to, like they have these generalized, everybody wants to be wealthy. Okay. Everybody wants to be successful. But like specifically, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And like, what is your target? Because you cannot achieve something that you have not thought about, right? Because it's just the way the human brain works. You have to think about these things. And then obviously we talk about reverse engineering all the time, but you have to reverse engineer them. Most people just do not know who they are. And it gets really specific down to even why you exist. This is why I think a lot of business people that don't maybe have the taking action side turn into philosophers because they end up going down the road of just going, okay, why do I actually exist? What's the impact that I want to create in this world? You've got to think of why you actually exist. Here's why, because I'll just share a little bit of our journey, right? We probably 6 years ago, had this massive tax issue where we thought we were doing taxes appropriately, which we were doing our income taxes and federal taxes appropriately, but we weren't doing sales tax by state appropriately. Yep. And we didn't realize that because we didn't know. This shows you don't have to be super smart to be great at business, right? You just have to persist, like you said. But we ended up realizing we had made a mistake. And it was a pretty big mistake that we had thought that magazines weren't taxed in states, and certain states tax them, certain don't. And it ended up being like, ooh, we owe a lot of money in back taxes. And the government will allow a VDA program where you can voluntarily disclose yourself to make it right. So that's what we did. But in that moment, we had a VP of finance at the time, and they had brought it to our attention, and they were very nervous, to put it kindly. And all I asked them was, hey, just don't quit on me. And they quit. They quit like 3 months later. And it's like, I had never taken an accounting class in college, never had been super involved in that regard from, numbers and taxes and accounting. And so I'm up here till 1 a.m. all the time trying to figure out how to put taxes in the state of North Carolina and this county and this township and all this jazz of VDAs and working with people to try to figure this out. And the reason why I share that story is because we all have our valleys like that. We all have our mess ups like that. But you don't make it through those adversities. You don't get told that you owe a lot of money and it could really hurt your company. You don't get punched in the gut like that and make it through that if you don't know who you are. Yeah. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve, if you don't have a good, big goal for yourself, and you can't decide in the moment what your goal is. This is what people don't understand. And I've shared this before in the podcast, but I want it to resonate and sink in. If you wait for the adversity to come to then try to decide between your goal and the adversity, you will choose to give in to the adversity. If you've decided beforehand that your will is not for sale, that people can't buy your will, they can't buy you slacking down and being mediocre, that you are determined to accomplish this goal no matter what comes, hell or high water, that is when you make it through those things. But most people never take the time to do it because it takes discipline and it takes reflection and it takes thought and it takes challenging yourself. And most people just don't want to do that.
Woo. Man, do we even need to get to the other points?
I don't know.
That was gold, man.
7 minutes in. I don't even know what I wrote down for the other points. What did I write down?
Well, I think the next thing goes into this, what you're talking about, which is, thinking about where do you want to be. But as part of that, you also have to invest back into yourself. So that was the other thing that you mentioned or wrote down, was investing in yourself in order to help you get through those days. Yeah.
I think this one is oversaid now. It's kind of like know, like, and trust. Everybody has heard that. So everybody's heard body, mind, soul, right? The greatest investment you can ever make is the investment in yourself, right? And what comes out of you is what you've put in you. And the spin we always take is like, that's what you read, that's what you listen to, that's what you watch. But most importantly, it's the environment you put yourself in. So you put a flower in the desert, it can die. You put a flower in great soil, it can blossom, right? What environment have you stuck yourself in? Meaning, what people are you around? Who are you allowing to influence your life? I spend so much time with you, so I am choosing to allow Josh Stike to influence who Luke Acree is. But that's a conscious decision. Most people, it's an unconscious or subconscious decision for them. They never think about their friends. They never think about their family. They never think about the people they're allowing to talk into their life. And it's like, no, stop for a second. Who are you allowing to influence your life? And just by being next to that person consistently, they have influence over you because you become like the people you hang around. Right? So the fastest way to change who you are is to start changing your environment.
It even goes to your digital environment and what you're consuming. If you're consuming, the majority of your media consumption is entertainment versus inspiration or something that's actually going to help you achieve what you want, go to your YouTube. Go to youtube.com and look at your recommended videos. That's going to tell you what you are allowing to, or what you're prioritizing in terms of how you're investing in yourself.
Because the algorithm just serves you what you want to hear.
What you want.
It's like, oh man, confirmational bias at its extreme comes from the algorithms of social.
When
and
I get into that rut, and you can feel it. You can feel it because you can start to see all of the videos. Right now, it's a lot of political stuff, but you can start to see all of the videos. And I go, all right, I'm going to force this algorithm to start giving me better content. So you start searching for other stuff. You like different videos.
That's so true.
And it really goes into, and like you mentioned as well, mind, body, spirit, health. Anybody who is paying attention to their health, you can see it in them. They immediately start to want to be better in other areas of their life. So that's another important thing that you want to focus on. We've mentioned this before, but finding an accountability partner, someone that's actually willing to call you out if you're not doing what you said you're going to do, and someone that you can be open with and honest with in sharing your goals.
I should add on to that of put some sacrifice out there that if you don't follow through with what you said, you will give $1,000 to charity. You will shave your head. You will whatever, right? Do something that's a little bit painful for you, because like what people ask I hear people say you shouldn't need a coach. And I go, nah, that's not true. Like, you shouldn't have to pay for a coach or something like that. I say, no, because when you pay, you got skin in the game.
Yeah.
You got skin in the game, and it actually becomes valuable to you. Your money showcases what you value. And so I would just tell you, put your money on the line. Like, I've done challenges before with people in my YPO where it's like I told them I was going to get, lose this much weight or get in this shape, and I bet $1,000 and stuff like that because I wanted to make it real. And it matters, man, when you don't want to get out of bed and you're like, I don't want to pay that $1,000. I'm getting up. Yeah.
Number 4, the final one is you got to take time to rest. You got to take time to reflect. You got to take time to recharge. So not everyone can go, maybe some people, but eventually you have to recharge.
Yeah, I saw Alex Hermosi posted something that said, comment or like not comment to what people think. You don't have to make your bed to be a millionaire. And he was, if you read the caption or whatever, he basically was saying, this 29 step morning routine is not what is absolutely required to be a millionaire. So I put down rest and reflect and recharge because I think a lot of times the grind and hustle culture has taken over this generation in the social media feeds where people think they have to grind 24/7. I would tell you, if you're grinding 24/7, you're wasting time. You're unorganized. You're not disciplined, and you haven't set a good structure for your life. And this is coming from someone who lived in the hustle and grind culture and loves to work a lot.
Yeah.
But the point being is I've realized, man, some people can get done in 2 hours in a day, what another person says they're grinding 10 hours, 12 hours in a day to do because they're more focused, they're more disciplined, they're more intentional. And so I would challenge you, take that grind culture that you're talking about and apply it to a discipline culture and ask yourself, how do I actually live in all levels of life? How do I become a 5-dimensional person, right? Your family, your faith, your fitness, your friendships, your finances. I was struggling to come up with the 5th, right? So, but a 5-dimensional person, like how do you organize your life to where you can have it all?
Nice.
So if my daughter never sees me, is that really a great life? No, it's not in my book. It's not a great life, but I can be successful in my work and successful in my daughter's life. And I believe that. I'm intentional about that. I tell myself that all the time. And I work towards that. And it's never going to be perfect, but I'm not going to accept the narrative that you can't rest, that you have to be 24/7 on the grind. I just don't accept it.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for listening. You can head over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes and video of this episode. If you like this episode and want to show your support, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. And the best way to support the show is to simply share the podcast with somebody. Speaking of bad days and getting through them, I don't know if you guys saw the storm that we had the other night. Did you guys see that storm? That massive storm. Yeah, we had a storm, Luke.
We did.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Just say yes.
I was asleep. Yes, we had a storm.
I lost in that storm. I lost 25% of my roof. Oof. Oh, 25% of my roof. Oof.
25%. Good to know, too. We are keeping the dad.
Yes, if anyone wants to know who to blame the YouTube comments because they said that
they said keep them.
Actually, we had 3 people say this was the only reason they listened to the show.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't take offense to this. Or would you be offended if I told you that was the only reason I listened? A little bit, but if you want to get a hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, and you can find us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. Make sure to check us out on YouTube as well. We put out a ton of shorts. Ethan and the team has been cranking out shorts on YouTube. Just search Reminder Media on YouTube to find us there. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke A. Cree. What episode is this?
This is 493.
493. We have huge news coming at episode 500. So
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We have a great show planned.
Make sure you're subscribed.
Make sure
in.
you watch the YouTube video of episode 500 too, because it's going to be off the hook.
Oh yeah,
you
I already forgot about it.
You might see Josh and I crying on this episode. Just to tell you, just a little teaser there. Here's your action item, right? So we talk about how you get through the day, motivation, all that stuff. Like any of these you could apply. The most important to apply is get very specific about your target. And one of the things I've learned in my years of doing this is you have a big why, which is fantastic, and you hear people say it all the time. But I really find that a why is basically about chasing the why. What do I mean by that? It's really just about becoming the best version of yourself. Your why is going to constantly change. So if you feel, man, I don't really have a big why, why is it that all these people talk about the why? It's really not that everybody has this huge why. It's that they have these goals that they try to achieve that are driving them. And once they achieve those, or once their life switches a little bit, they constantly are in evolution of finding their why, which is actually their why, meaning they're trying to find the best version of themselves. Get very specific about what your target is. We're coming to the end of the year. You have 2024 right around the corner. Do not go into 2024 subconsciously. Go into 2024 consciously. Very intentional about what you're trying to achieve. Remember the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business. Top producers take action. Take action on that today.